It was the kind of moment that changes a life forever, yet at first, no one realized it. The rain was falling hard, the kind that blurs headlights and turns the streets into silver rivers. People hurried past each other, heads down, umbrellas tilted against the wind. In the middle of that storm, on a cold sidewalk beneath a flickering streetlight, a single act of quiet courage was about to unfold, an act that would ripple through many lives in ways no one could have imagined. Before we begin this emotional journey, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small acts to change the world, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, leave a comment about kindness, and subscribe to the channel so more people can hear stories like this. That night, the city felt colder than usual. Cars rushed by with impatient honks, neon signs reflected off wet pavement, and people hurried home after long days of work. But near the corner of an old grocery store, a young man named Daniel sat alone on the sidewalk, his thin jacket soaked with rain. Daniel was only 22, but the weight in his eyes made him look older. Just 6 months earlier, his life had been different. He had a small apartment, a part-time job at a warehouse, and quiet dreams about finishing college someday. Nothing extraordinary, just the kind of life many people take for granted. But life rarely moves the way we plan. The warehouse had closed suddenly. Within weeks, Daniel had lost his job. Bills piled up faster than he could manage, and the landlord eventually locked the door on the only place he had called home. Pride kept him from asking for help. Every morning he searched for work, walking miles across the city with hope that slowly faded. Now the rain soaked through his shoes as he stared at the ground, wondering how life had unraveled so quickly. People passed him without noticing. Some glanced briefly, their expressions filled with quiet judgment. To them, he was just another struggling stranger on the street. But not everyone walked past. Across the street, a woman named Maria stepped out of the grocery store carrying 2 small bags. Maria was 48 years old and worked long hours as a nurse at a nearby hospital. Life had not been easy for her either. She had raised her daughter alone after losing her husband many years earlier. Maria knew what it meant to struggle quietly. As she crossed the street, her eyes landed on Daniel. Something about the way he sat there, shoulders hunched, hands trembling slightly from the cold, made her pause. She could have continued walking. After all, the city was full of people with problems. But kindness often begins with a single moment of hesitation. Maria walked toward him slowly and offered him one of the grocery bags. Inside were sandwiches, fruit, and a warm bottle of tea she had just bought. Daniel looked up, surprised. For a moment he seemed unsure whether to accept it. Then he nodded gently. That simple exchange lasted only a few seconds, but something shifted inside both of them. For Daniel, it was the first moment in weeks that someone had looked at him without judgment. For Maria, it reminded her of something she believed deeply, that even small kindness can echo far beyond what we see. Over the next few days, Maria noticed Daniel again in the same area. Sometimes he sat near the grocery store, sometimes under the bus stop shelter when it rained. Each time she passed by after work, she would leave him something small, food, a cup of coffee, or simply a few encouraging words. Daniel never asked for anything. He always thanked her quietly and continued searching for work during the day. But Maria saw something others didn't. She saw determination behind the exhaustion. One evening, after a particularly long shift at the hospital, Maria found Daniel standing outside the store staring at a "Now Hiring" sign taped to the window. His expression carried both hope and doubt. Maria walked over and gently encouraged him to go inside and ask about the job. Daniel hesitated. Rejection had become something he expected. But something about Maria's calm confidence gave him courage. He walked inside. The manager was busy and initially dismissive, but Daniel spoke honestly about his situation and his willingness to work hard. The manager looked at him for a moment, then handed him a simple application form. It wasn't a promise, but it was a beginning. Over the next week, Daniel returned every day, determined not to let the opportunity slip away. The job itself was small, stocking shelves late at night and cleaning the store before morning. But to Daniel, it meant something far greater than a paycheck. It meant dignity. When the manager finally told him he could start the following Monday, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. He waited outside the store that evening until Maria finished her shift and walked past. When she saw him standing there with a quiet smile, she immediately knew something had changed. Daniel thanked her, not just for the food or encouragement, but for seeing him when the world had stopped noticing. Maria simply smiled and told him something she had always believed. Kindness grows. Weeks passed. Daniel worked hard at the store, arriving early and leaving late. Slowly he saved enough money to rent a tiny room in an old building nearby. It wasn't much, but it had a bed, a window, and a door he could close at night. For the first time in a long while, Daniel felt stable again. But the story didn't end there. Because the real impact of kindness often appears when we least expect it. One night at the hospital, Maria was leaving after a long shift when she suddenly felt dizzy near the parking lot. The stress and long hours had quietly taken a toll on her health. As she stumbled slightly, someone nearby rushed forward to help. It was Daniel. He had just finished his late shift at the grocery store and happened to be walking past the hospital. Recognizing Maria instantly, he supported her and called for assistance. Nurses quickly brought her inside for evaluation. Thankfully, it wasn't anything severe, just exhaustion and dehydration. But as Maria rested in a hospital bed later that night, she couldn't help but smile softly. The young man she had once helped on a rainy sidewalk had been there when she needed help. Kindness had come full circle. Years later, Daniel would go on to do something extraordinary with his life. He eventually returned to school, studying social work. His experiences had given him a deep understanding of struggle and compassion. He dedicated his career to helping people who felt invisible to the world, people who were standing exactly where he had once been. Whenever someone asked him what inspired him to choose that path, he would remember that rainy night under the flickering streetlight. A small act. A warm sandwich. A moment of being seen. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment right now to comment the word kindness below. It helps spread positive stories like this to more people who might need a reminder that compassion still exists in the world. Because sometimes, the smallest gestures create the biggest changes. Maria continued working at the hospital for many years, and Daniel often visited to volunteer and help patients who had no family nearby. Their friendship became something quiet but meaningful, a reminder that life connects people in unexpected ways. They rarely spoke about that first night in the rain. They didn't need to. Both of them knew that a simple moment of compassion had changed everything. And somewhere out there, someone watching this story might be standing at a crossroads in their own life, feeling unseen, unheard, or uncertain about tomorrow. But stories like this remind us of something powerful. Kindness never disappears. It moves quietly through the world, passing from one heart to another. Before this story ends, we have a small request for you. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of the importance of helping others, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue bringing you stories that restore faith in people. Because sometimes, all it takes to change a life is one person who decides not to walk away. Yellow Heart.